Yo guys, JD here, TRL Limitless, and you're listening to One Mic, One Wheel.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to One Mic, One Wheel, the show where we talk all things sim racing. I hope you guys enjoyed episode 19 with Alex, Car Alex, you might know him as, talking about his journey through esports and where he sees himself going in the future. Unfortunately for some, this is the very last episode of One Mic, One Wheel for the season. But we're rounding off, I think, on quite a big note. I've got a guest in here with me today. You might know him. It's TRL Limitless. Limitless, you're very, very welcome to the show. I'm very pleased to have you on.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, man.
So let's get started then. So what started your love for motorsport initially?
My love for motorsport, honestly, it didn't really happen until I was about 7 or 8 years old. I'd never was into F1 before then. My family before, my dad and my granddad or anything, they were never into motorsport or anything at all. It was literally because I used to live in Essex. I was born in Romford, and my grandparents lived in Kent. And on the way over to Kent, we used to pass a go-kart track called Butmore Park, which is where I race at all the time now. And I just saw that, really wanted to have a go at a kids' party, and then literally as soon as I had a go, I was just completely hooked since. And honestly, I wouldn't say it's probably my love for motorsport. I'd probably say it's my love for racing. I just really love competing against people, and yeah, it's just stuck with me ever since. And obviously that grew into F1 because karting, that was a stepping stone going through to different formulas and then ultimately Formula One, and started getting into it from there. But I'd say, yeah, doing go-kart racing when I was about 7 or 8, that's where it started everything for me.
So then what got you started into league racing?
League racing, what got me started, honestly, was because I used to watch XMAG and Noble 2909. I used to watch them, and I wasn't TRL. I used to be called, I've had about 50 gamer tags before I was TRL Limitless, but I was called JD's Monster, which is my YouTube channel name. And TRL was probably like the biggest league at the time, where it had like the top drivers in, and just watching those guys racing. And I never really played it hardcore or anything at all. I just casually just played sprint mode back on 2011, 2010. Didn't think I was good or anything at all. Wasn't really trying to be good. But then once I saw their channels and they're racing AOR or ARL, sorry, Apex Racing League back then, which is now AOR, and then leagues like TRL, I just saw how quick those guys were, and just watching their highlight videos, that just really just inspired me to get involved. And really, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be having this channel now. I wouldn't be talking to you now, honestly, because it just really, really just inspired on my competitiveness that I have within me. And I just wanted to be at their level. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have just tried to get better each day. And yeah, it's honestly because of probably Matty G and Noble 2909 was the reason why I started it.
So talking about the YouTube channel, did you ever think that it would get as big as 57,000 subscribers, current number you're sitting at?
No, not at all. Yeah, especially I think it's changing a little bit now, but obviously it's been mainly career mode focus for other YouTubers. Like obviously Ben and Narif who've done a fantastic job of what they've done in their YouTube channel. Yeah, for me, just for doing league racing and mainly just multiplayer content and stuff, I honestly thought no one would ever really watch it. To be honest, my channel was really just to just try and help people get better at the game, because that was one of the reasons why I started it myself, because there was no tutorials, no tips. Other than Matty G and Noble, there was no one else really who was actually uploading highlights to try and get into racing or anything. So yeah, for the content that I do, I really didn't think it'd be possible. And for me, it's not really about the number. For me, honestly, it's about people just being happy watching my videos and content, and to have the active viewership that I have for a channel of my size now, I couldn't be happier. But yeah, I really didn't expect to get this number at the moment, no.
Interesting one actually. Do your parents know that you run the YouTube channel? What's their opinion on it?
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah, my dad, yeah, he's a massive fan of it. Both my parents are super, super supportive of me. Particularly my dad, he watches it all the time. He shares it all the time with his friends and everything. Yeah, he couldn't be prouder of it, which is, yeah, a really, really nice thing, because I know there's a lot of parents in different sports, or if people do different things, they're not really that supportive or anything. especially mainly towards gaming, because that could be stereotypically something that's not frowned upon a little bit, where you're not being social or anything. But for me, I've always had a really good balance between my social life and doing YouTube and stuff as well. But yeah, they're super, super supportive of me, even up until this day right now. When I did my league races recently, they're always super pumped for me and everything, making sure no one's talking when I'm doing a commentary and not disturbing me when I'm practicing and stuff like that. So yeah, I couldn't really ask for any more supportive parents than them. So
Speaking about the kind of the old days of a league race, so if we can cast your mind back, so comparing yourself to the level you're at now and the level you were then, what aspects of
yeah,
your racing do you think that you've improved the most on?
it's quite a difficult question, because I was a pad player for like 6 years, something like that, and I think I got to a pretty good level on that, pretty much to the max level I probably could have got on the pad back then. And then having been on the wheel, I'd still consider myself relatively quite new compared to a lot of people who've been doing it for years and years. I'd say good over a year now that I've been doing it properly. I'd say I'm just a different kind of driver now. I think I'm getting back to a level where I was with the wheel. I found it quite a tough transition, although I've done it in real life, like racing, everything. It's a little bit different when you do it on the game itself. In terms of my racing, my raw pace, I wouldn't say I'm at a match what I was on the controller when I'm at my peak, but I'm definitely getting very, very close to it again. But one thing I'd say that I've definitely improved on, particularly recently, my form that I've done in the last month or 2 months in particular, is just my composure, really. I think that's probably because of my experience. So I don't really get too nervous anymore. I'm pretty calm before races and stuff. And I just think having that experience just really helps. Probably just mentally, I think I've just gone a lot better, particularly recently. So that's the thing I've improved on the most.
And again, looking back on those old races, what's changed in terms of the etiquette of the racing, the competition?
I think the racing now, it's always been super intense, and the competition, it's always been super competitive. Like back when I raced with Noble, Matty G, back in when I did like a.k.a. season 4, season 5, which is like it feels like 100 years ago now. The competition then, I would say, is just as good as it is now. I think the difference now is esports wasn't really a factor back then, to be honest. I think now there's a lot more pressure to get into esports. Obviously, I've been an esports driver myself. Having the privilege of being a coach this year, which I can't wait to get into. But I think now, and you're seeing that through league racing quite often, people are taking it a lot more serious. Not to say we weren't taking it serious, because I've always taken it serious myself. But you took it serious before, but you were, I don't know, it wasn't like life or death, if that makes sense. Whereas now, to younger guys in particular, it's pretty much the difference between them potentially getting a career, because it's esports is just taking off now. So I think the racing etiquette, I'd say, not more aggressive, but I'd say people are racing in a lot more serious manner at the moment.
Do you miss all those old school races with the XMATG, Noble 2909? Because they were the kind of the golden age of league racing.
Oh yeah, yeah, I definitely miss it. I miss it so much, and it's good that me and mine are still really good friends. I'm really good friends still with Matty G and stuff as well, and it shows what potentially for him, what his commentary way has got him now as well. Yeah, I definitely miss those days. I'm really enjoying it at the moment. There was a little stage about a year or so ago where I wasn't enjoying it as much, but that's probably because of the transition and of just how the games are, which we'll be talking about a little bit later. But yeah, I really do miss the old days where, as I said, it wasn't, the competition was still there, but it was, you could just have a lot, not more fun, but just kind of laugh a little bit more, and it wasn't as super, super serious, but you were still wanting to win just as much as you did. So yeah, I really do miss those old days, because those days I wasn't at the level where I hit my peak, and it was really a bit of a journey for me. Learning off the guys like Noble, that to me, I was a massive fanboy of those guys. So to be in the same lobby as them was a privilege. So yeah, I definitely miss those days.
So let's have a chat about TRL. So when did you initially become a member of the TRL team?
TRL, everyone does think it's a team, but it's actually a league. It stands for Total Racing Leagues, and yeah, as I said before, that was a league that was had the best drivers back on 2010, 2011. And it was just a website run by a guy called Jamie Metcalf. If he listens to this, he'll know who he is. But yeah, that was just a league. Wasn't a clan or anything, and they just asked me to. They didn't ask me. I asked them if I could change my name to TRL because I really liked how TRL looks. I know a lot of teams now have the three like letters as a clan or a team or anything like that. But I just really liked how it looked. And yeah, it literally was just a racing league that ran no assists. It was the only league that ran no assists from what I could find at the time. And yeah, I got asked to join it after being in sprint mode. The owner of it just came to me and said, "Oh, do you want to join this league?" And literally the next day at 9 a.m, there was a league race. I did terrible my first race. And yeah, it just started from there, really. So
Now, of course, we all know that you ended up kind of ditching the TRL name and you left to join Veloce. So, what was the experience of being in Veloce like? And can you tell us what ultimately led to the decision that made you return to the TRL gamertag?
yeah, leaving TRL. Well, it wasn't as I said, it wasn't like a team or anything, but TRL was the TRL Limitless. That was the name that I was known as, like going through league race and stuff. And I know it may sound a bit silly to some people, but for me, it meant quite a lot for me to have that name, which is the name I was known for. And to join Veloce was a big decision for me. Certainly wasn't an easy decision at all. Particularly, I was one of the first people to join, along with Formula Danny. I think we're the first two people to join. We joined on the same day, and yeah, I was a bit skeptical because esports teams, it's only just starting up in esports and F1, and you never knew where it could go or anything at all. So yeah, it was a really big decision because I felt I'd kind of lose my identity throughout that community if I changed it. And also, when I joined that team, I switched over to the wheel as well. So I knew I was going to drop some pace, and pretty much I was scared that I was going to kind of get forgotten about and not really not be like respected anymore, anything if I was slow or people didn't know who I was or anything at all. So yeah, that was a big decision. But my experience in Veloce itself, I feel it was a good experience. Had a lot of fun. It's to see how they actually grew and everything as well. But my raw, like, honest experience didn't really have any negative things, but I just felt it was better to go by myself, honestly. I felt I could have created more opportunities for myself. Not to say they were stopping me from any opportunities or anything, but I would say I kind of missed having my own identity rather than being amongst a team of different players and influencers and content creators where you kind of got stuck in what you could and can't do. And yeah, I just felt it was kind of probably hindering more opportunities than what I could have made myself. And equally, although it was a hard decision to join, it was a hard decision to actually leave as well. Because obviously Veloce, they've got quite a big name for themselves now and everything. And I couldn't be happier for them, and I really wished them the best in the future and everything. But I kind of felt I was just like losing my own identity. And yeah, I just wanted to just go back to being TRL Limitless, the name what I've always been known as. And I felt I have the full support of people if I went back to being that name. And honestly, I'm really glad I did, because it's really motivated me to push on to new things, new boundaries. My channel hasn't been, it's been the best it's ever been right now. And I think having that name has really just motivated me to just get better, back to my old self. And I really do feel now at the moment I'm pretty much on track to do that. So
Now, of course, we all know last season you made it through into the F1 Esports the full way. So, can you just talk us through the emotions of the pro draft specifically and that moment you were chosen? Because sitting in a group of about 30, 40 guys must have been a really nerve wracking experience.
yeah, going to esports, I was really surprised I actually qualified. First of all, the race I did to qualify at Spain in the wet was probably one of the best races I ever did, where I switched from the wheel to the pad during that race. So that was pretty entertaining. And yeah, going through the pro draft week, it was a really, really long week, really tiring, really mentally tiring, as well as physically tiring as well. And yeah, I didn't think I was going to get picked at all. That's because I was relatively quite new to the wheel still. And there's a lot of guys, particularly there's a lot of guys who've made it in this year, who I felt probably should have been chosen over me, honestly. I really feel they should have probably been chosen over me. And I wouldn't have really been that disappointed if I wasn't chosen. Would have motivated me to get better next year. But yeah, it was pretty nerve-wracking. And yeah, it was just a pretty surreal experience. But I didn't really feel too much pressure, as I said, because I just wasn't really expecting anything too much. Because I was still relatively new to everything. But yeah, it really made me realise of how far we've actually come from just playing online racing leagues. 5 years ago, just playing in against Noble, a.k.a, to then being on a live stage at the Gfinity Arena. It just made me really proud to be part of that, no matter what the outcome was. And yeah, just really, really excited for what's actually going to happen in the future.
So speaking of that live arena, what was that like? Must have been such a dynamic feel to it. And again, what was it like meeting all of the guys that you raced against in real life?
Yeah, it was awesome. No, it was so good. Yeah, it just felt, yeah, just as I said, surreal before. I've been a really big fan of watching Call of Duty before, but they played in that arena, like COD champs and stuff like that. And I've always dreamed of actually competing at a LAN event against people. That's been my dream. Like when I raced back in the day, I had quite a bad internet at times, which cost me quite a few good results. And there was nothing more than I wanted to race on a LAN event where it was all a complete equal playing field. So yeah, I was just thriving in that environment, and to meet everyone there, to put faces to names that you've been talking with for years, and for them to really respect you and to watch your own videos and to say they've learnt from me and that they've been there as well. It was just a privilege to meet them, to share the same passion that they have for me. So I made some really good friends there, and really looking forward to meeting them again at this year's Pro Draft.
So are you happy with how you performed overall at the F1 Esports?
In the first event, because there was 3 events, I was actually really, really happy of how I performed in the first event. I qualified like 11th. Didn't have the equipment before the first event at all. So literally, when I got there, I only had, I think, like 40 minutes practice on each track with a new wheel, new pedals, new cockpit and everything. I came 5th in the first race. So I was really, really shocked at that. And yeah, that was my best drive of the whole series, in fact, doing that. Second race, got quite unlucky at China where I got some wing damage. But then in Baku, I actually was on pole for a good chunk of the session in the qualifying, and which I really was not expecting at all. I just decided to go for it. So for that first event, I think I came out in the 8th or 7th in the standings or something like that. So I was really, really happy with that, knowing that I would have the equipment for next event to really try and push on, and actually really felt I could get some really good results, and that really motivated me. But second event, literally everything that could have gone wrong for me went wrong. Just didn't really drive well. Some circumstances didn't help, but honestly, I just didn't really drive well. I wasn't really ready for esports back then because I was still learning the wheel myself at home and everything. So I feel now, if I could go back now with the driver I am now with the wheel, I think I could have done a really, really good result. So it was a bit disappointing for me, especially as a team or what we did as a result. Happy in the first event, but yeah, I could have done a lot better. But that's just down to my experience with the input device I have now, just the confidence I have now. But yeah, you just got to learn from those things. And yeah, although I'm not driving this year, hopefully I can use those experiences to really help the drivers that we have in our team. But yeah, definitely could have done better, and yeah, we will do better in future.
So yeah, you just mentioned there that you're taking a break from the competitive scene and you're going to be coaching the Team Vitality guys. So what actually inspired the decision to switch from driving to coaching, and what sort of tips have you been giving the two drivers?
Well, yeah, going into the coaching thing, I pretty much decided not to do esports as a driver this year anyway, even if I didn't get contacted by Team Vitality to keep me on as a coach. I probably wouldn't have done esports anyway, because I felt I just really wanted to get that proper year of experience of being successful with the wheel and everything. So I was perfectly happy to do that. And of course, when I was younger, back in 2012, 13, in those games, I had a lot more time on my hands. I was at uni, had a lot of time during the day and everything, whereas now I've got a full-time job. YouTube isn't my job at all. It's just a hobby for me at the moment. But I've got a full-time job now and other commitments outside, so it's pretty hard for me to get that time in, which is a part of the decision why I would miss this year regardless. But yeah, Team Vitality, they're really happy with my attitude that I showed last year, and asked me to be the coach of the team, which I just can't wait to be a part of. As for the drivers we have this year, I think we've got a pretty good lineup. So in terms of tips I can give them, I don't think I can I can give them some tips on setups and obviously on some raw pace and stuff, but I think they've already got the talent for the raw pace, which is the reason why they're in the team. But I think what I can bring is my experience, from what I've gone through for my racing, competitive esports career or just league racing career, just my experience of just being calm, keeping your composure. I think those things, the mental part of it, I think is something I can really bring to the table. And in terms of preparation, everything, which I took pretty seriously myself, and I still do to this day, particularly right now. That's something I could bring to the table, and I think that ultimately can make the difference between winning and losing.
So you mentioned earlier on that you used to race in AOR, and you're currently racing in Inside Line Racing. Shout out to those guys, Xbox One Tier 1. So how does the racing in ILR compare to racing in AOR, and I'm particularly talking about your dealings with the respective management of both leagues?
Yeah, I think it's just completely different. AOR was, and I think it is still to this day right now, it's just super, super serious. I think if you do that league, literally, you're not going to have any friends on track or anything at all. No, ask Tira Martin, me and him have fell out a lot of times when we raced in AWAR, although we're like best mates online and everything. AWAR, you just win at all costs, pretty much. Whereas in ILR, it kind of reminds me of TRL, where the grid is just as talented. I truly believe it is. And I even think last season, it was even more competitive. I think it still is almost more competitive than the AOR, or equally as competitive in my opinion. But it's not all about all or nothing, or literally if you don't win, then you just go quit the league or anything like that. For me, I just have fun when I'm driving in that league right now, at the moment. And that's really the main difference how I feel when I'm driving. It's still super competitive, but I don't know what it is. It's just, I could just have fun. I actually just really look forward to those races in IOR, whereas in AOR, being honest, towards the end when I stopped racing in it, mainly because I just can't really race on weekends at the moment, so I will go back to it at some point hopefully, but towards the end I kind of wasn't really looking forward to actually racing, because I know everyone would be taking it so serious, and since I couldn't practice as much as I would like, I knew I'd be on the back foot straight away. Whereas when at IOR, I know people do practice quite a lot, and I am right now. But I just really look forward to it a lot more. And in terms of management, again, it's the same kind of feeling. AOR just seems to be a lot more serious, just a lot more commercialized, if that's a fair comment to make. Because obviously they have sponsors, they have a really good website and everything as well. I think they're always trying to keep up that image as being as professional as possible. So they're super, super strict and everything, which is great. That's a really good thing. Whereas in IOR, I think it's a little bit more relaxed. Although they're not lenient on penalties or anything at all, I'd just say the atmosphere is just more relaxed and just a bit more, not as intense, I'd say. That's what I'd say the difference is between two leagues.
So now it's become clear in recent weeks that you're particularly frustrated with Codemasters and the current state of the F1 game. So what was the straw that broke the camel's back, to for want of a better term? What made you decide to publicly speak out about this?
Yeah, it's been a really frustrating thing, and I have a lot of friends at Codemasters now. I've tested the game for them I did it for 2 years in a row. Now I know a lot of the people who work within it. And I know they're a super passionate group of guys and everything, and they do a great job. It's not easy making the game. There's no way I couldn't even make Pac-Man if I tried to, if I wanted to do that. But yeah, the reason is I just feel the games could be a lot better, honestly. I really do. I feel games like 2012, 2011, 2013, they were super immersive. They were simple and they just worked. Obviously, there were issues at times, which you expect at any game, but I just feel, I don't know, it's hard to say really. I know they're really passionate in the game, but I want them to just be a bit more engaging with the community. It's a bit frustrating where they don't communicate with the community. and they only reward people who maybe were saying only good things about the game. And I love the guys at Ben, one of my best friends in the YouTube, doing an absolute. He deserves everything that he has because he's such a humble guy. He's worked so hard and is so good. But I feel not favoritism. So the people who would just say anything, good about the game, but I feel they don't really deal with criticism that well. And I've tried my best to give constructive criticism in the past, and to be ignored at times and to not be communicated with is really frustrating, because I feel I have a good platform to really showcase the game, particularly from a league racing and multiplayer perspective. But it seems the impression I've got for the last few years is they just want to release the game, just do it as quick as possible without, and then just fix the bugs later. Or apparently, recently, for the last couple of years, I'd say, is they've released a game and decided not to deal with the patches. And I just feel they're kind of just not focusing on the quality 100%. They just want to release a game as early as they can. No, not super early, obviously, in half the time, but I just feel not they want to get the initial sale, because I know how passionate they are. It's very difficult for me to say this as well, but I just feel they should focus a bit more on getting a more complete game, and rather than trying to add features, which I understand there's a big pressure for them to do that because they need a USP for a game, unique selling point. I understand that, but I feel they really need to focus on just making sure the fundamental is right, the fun aspect of being able to race properly. I think they focus a bit too hard on certain areas of the game, such as career mode, which I think they will openly admit to. And although they're focused on that, I don't really feel it's progressed as much as it should have done. I feel it was more immersive in the past, whilst other areas of the game have really been neglected quite a bit, particularly in the multiplayer. And we don't even have, we used to have a race net and sprint mode, which I feel was amazing. You could win prizes from that. People could just jump in and race. That's how I learned how to league race and everything as well. Whereas now it just seems a lot more inaccessible to do that, and it's focused more maybe on the graphics and just the career mode and stuff like that. Whereas it's actually taken away from the core part of the game, which is racing. And I feel that's a part they're kind of forgetting a little bit. And if the game's good, I will say it's good. I don't have an agenda against Codemasters at all. My best interest is just for the game itself. But it's frustrating to see people given the opportunities to showcase the game who are not really going to criticize it properly. And they're only going to reward those people without communicating with the rest of the community. And I think that's what really frustrates the community. And I just want to just raise my concerns, because I just feel it's just quite unfair, particularly when I've tried my best in the past to communicate myself and I haven't got a response, or the issues haven't been fixed or anything at all. It just feels like the game is, if it was a game myself that I was making, I would want every inch to be perfect through testing and everything. And I just feel, not that they try and rush the release at times, but they rather just get the game out there, really market it really well, which they do a phenomenal job at, rather than just making sure it's the best game that they could be. So yeah, that's why I get quite frustrated with it at times.
So how do you feel that Codemasters have blocked beta access to you?
The beta access, being an esports driver team, I'm actually not allowed beta access. So that's something I'm actually completely fine with. The only thing that's just quite upsetting to me, and I've said this directly in Codemasters messages and everything as well, is that I feel I've got a really good platform. I may not have as many subscribers as like a Ben or Arab or anything at all, but I feel I've got a very active audience on my channel, and an audience that is pretty much all towards league racing, multiplayer, esports, and the way esports is going. I think that's why there's been a big rise in my channel recently, because there's been so much focus on the multiplayer and everything as well, which I don't think they anticipated that well. It's just quite upsetting to me that they wouldn't want to utilize my channel as showcasing it, because I would criticize it in a constructive way, but I feel having someone in my experience play the game, who I feel I'm at a decent level at playing the game, and I think I've proved that recently and in the past as well. One why they wouldn't want to use my channel to really showcase, the limits of the game, of the driving, handling, just the multiplayer side of it. Because my channel, all I want it to be is just a genuine channel. I'll always be completely honest. Really just to try and give the average person what it feels like, and without just trying to be real the whole time. So yeah, for me, I don't really mind not playing the beta because I'm not allowed to because of esports, and I perfectly understand that. But not being able to give the opportunity to showcase the game where I feel I've got the experience and what I've done and where my social media platforms are at the moment, I think that's probably the most upsetting part about it, really.
So, have you ever considered moving to other games such as iRacing, Project Cars, or anything like that?
Honestly, I probably won't do that because of just time commitment I have now. Honestly, I'm not looking for a proper simulation game. I do karting, like karting real life and everything, but I'm perfectly happy playing F1 because it's just the people I play with, the people who watch my channel, the friends I have on these games, everything. That's all been on this game, and I just enjoy racing and Formula One. So I'd probably say I'd most likely be sticking to this game, Formula One game, unless another developer comes in the future or something. But yeah, I would most likely always be sticking with this. I like watching iRacing and R Factor 2 and games like that, and GT Sport. I do watch those, and I do quite regularly watch streams like Super GT and Jimmy Broadband and people like that. It's really fun to watch, but I feel F1 is always going to be my bread and butter for me. So
So, this coaching thing, is this just going to be for this season? Can we expect you to return to a driver role?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, depending how I progress and how I feel and how the next game is. Yeah, obviously being a coach, I'm really, really looking forward to that, and that's just my number one focus this year entirely. But in the future, I'd say you never know, never say never. I know I've always got that competitive instinct within me, and that's always going to be there probably for the rest of my life, no matter how old I get and everything. So yeah, I would say never. But right now, I'm just going to focus on being a coach, and if the opportunity comes up where I could potentially be among the best in the world at driving individually, then yeah, I would say absolutely.
Do you think you actually could have made it as a real life professional driver?
I think motorsport, making it as a real life professional driver, is probably one of the hardest sports to actually make that happen in. Because I know a lot of people who I race with who got so much talent, who probably deserve to be in F1, but they just don't have the finance. With me, I feel I was pretty good in kart racing. I feel I've got decent talent when I drive in real life. Um, but honestly, my love wasn't for motorsport. And that sounds really strange, but it was just for competing. If I was as good as if I was as good as I am at league racing or racing online or karting in a different sport, I probably would have tried to do it the same day as well. So I say honestly, it probably wasn't realistic for me to become a real life driver, and maybe wouldn't have even actually wanted to in the end. I think I'm pretty happy now with how my life actually is. But yeah, I think it would have been very, very difficult because you just need so much finance. But right now, I do karting on a regular basis and competing in league racing. I know it sounds probably quite geeky and silly, but that really satisfies me enough right now at the moment.
So, who would you consider to have been or is currently your greatest rival in league racing?
Greatest rival in league racing. There's quite a few people. I'd probably say Noble 2909. He was someone I really always looked forward to driving against the most. He's probably someone I feared the most, really. Driving against him, I knew when I was going against him, you would have to put in a real special performance to try and beat him. Obviously, people at a.k.a, we had a really some intense battles at times. But honestly, I would say TRL Martin. We've always been so equal on pace. We've got the same mindset. We want to beat each other no matter what. And he's one of my best friends that I've met online here. Had the privilege of meeting him at Silverstone one year as well. Yeah, I'd say Tyrrell Martin. Yeah, we've just had some phenomenal races in the past. Always respected each other for most of the time. And yeah, I think we'll always have that rivalry going on forever. So yeah, I'd say definitely Tyrrell Martin.
Just quickly going back to the karting, I've had a few people want to ask whether there's some real life karting videos in the pipeline. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I think definitely. Yeah, I've started doing an endurance championship. I'm actually doing one this Monday and planning to get a camera where I can actually mount on myself. And that's something I've actually wanted to do for quite a while now. Doing Club 100 this year. I'm only doing a few rounds, one at Buckmore Park, which I already did. Where I race against Super GT, who's a really good friend of mine as well. So yeah, doing real life videos is something I want to add to my channel as well as league racing. That's something I'd really love to implement into my channel. So yeah, in the future, hoping sometime quite soon, in fact, this summer is when I start doing that. So yeah, definitely.
So at the time of recording this, you're currently sitting at I think about 57,000 subscribers on YouTube. So I think at this point, 100,000 I think is probably inevitable or a real possibility at this stage. So have you actually given any thought as to what sort of video or something you're going to do when you reach that goal?
Yeah, to get 100,000 subscribers, I think that would be achievement unlocked for me. If I did that, that would literally be the goal complete, honestly, because I think getting a million on the League Race channel, that's never going to happen or anything at all. Considering how long I've been on this channel and stuff for, and I've been super happy with how it's grown and stuff as well. But yeah, to get 100,000, if that does ever happen, then that'd be great if it happened. I'd be so humbled if it did. Yeah, that'd be awesome. In terms of what I would do, I already know exactly what I would do, and that'd be a skydive. I said that before, and yeah, I'll do a skydive, and I would record myself doing it. So if I get to 100,000 subscribers, I'll book a skydive on that very day. That's exactly what I'm going to do. So yeah, 100%.
And finally, JD, what's the future got in store for you? What are your own personal plans for the future?
My personal plans for the future, it's just to keep doing what I'm doing, really. I'll probably be competing in league racing till I'm probably 60 or something. I don't know. But yeah, I'll probably always have that competitive instinct within me, that bug within me. So I'll be playing these games as long as I enjoy them. That's the plan for me. 26 at the moment. There's people who I'm racing against who are 15, 16. So, they've got quite a few years left in them, and so do I. But I'll be playing these games for as long as I enjoy them. And yeah, I don't really have a goal with my YouTube channel. I know a lot of people are really hooked on statistics and, that side of it. For me, it's never been about that. I really couldn't care less if I didn't grow anything at all. As long as people enjoy my content, they learn something and get inspired from it. That honestly makes my day, and that's what makes me feel good. My plans for the future, regardless, is I'd love to compete in esports again. As I said, I'm completely focused on doing the coaching role this year, and honestly, I believe we can really aim high of what we can do as a team. But in future, I never say never in terms of me competing again. But honestly, I just want to keep inspiring people, keeping my integrity, always being honest, and just encouraging people to just really to reach their full potential. So
Well, unfortunately, that's all we have time for in this episode of One Mic, One Wheel. JD, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on, and I wish you all the best for the future.
thank you so much for having me, man. Thank you.
So that does it for this episode of One Mic, One Wheel. Episode 20, it's the end of the first season. First off, I just want to say thank you all so much for the support that you've given for this series. At the beginning, I never thought that I would have the chance to sit right here and interview guys like Limitless, Actual Vision, anything like that. So thank you all so much for that support. We'll be back, of course, for season 2. Stay tuned for that, of course. Just going to get some things rebranded, get some interviewees lined up, and we're going to come back with a bang. Thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you next time for season number 2. Thank you, and goodbye.